I'm Chad Grevalese with Aerolite TV and your host of the show, Connect Up. If you're looking to gain traction in your career or business, you're at the right place because here we talk about connection. You need to know how to connect with the right people in the right way so you can build valuable relationships that lead you to career success. We have conversations about how to find your voice in your career. I interview communication experts, time and focus masters, and everyday people who have stories to tell of challenges overcome, goals achieved, and how their inner and outer communication and ultimately their relationships accelerated their progress and elevated their journey. Success in life is just a collection of the right conversations with yourself and others. Connect up to a better version of yourself. Connect up to your goals and a brighter future. Disconnect from the things that are holding you back and connect your way to where you want to be. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Instead of having a video interview with a guest, it's going to be just me, and I'm going to tell you my story. And this episode will only be audio, no video. I figured I would take this opportunity to share with all of you my own career / life story that brought me to where I am today doing what I'm doing today. It's something that I ask all of my guests. I ask them what their story is, how they found their voice in their career. And so I thought that it would be good to share with you how I found my voice in my current career and what led me to doing what I'm doing today and what are some key lessons that I've learned about myself along the way. And hopefully maybe you can resonate with my story and there are some things that you might share in common with me. And there are some things that might help you understand yourself better after listening to my story and the discoveries that I've made about myself. And that hopefully you can take away from this conversation today some insight into not only who I am and where I come from, but some things that may be true about yourself, some things that may give you more understanding about what is holding you back in your career and what is causing you to repeat the same problems, what is causing you to not have a say over your career. As I tell you my story, I want you to pay attention to the recurring theme that keeps showing up throughout different events in my life based on a belief that I had about myself. I want you to pay attention to what that belief is, and maybe you might resonate with it. And pay attention to how this belief affected experiences that I had in my life. And I want you to focus in on how this core belief that I had about myself was affecting repeated negative experiences that eventually helped me realize and discover what was holding me back from career success and what helped me define my voice in my career. And so those are some things to watch for as I tell my story to you so that you can walk away with a lesson and maybe a few lessons that you can apply to your own life as you try to find your voice in your career and as you try to find your footing in your life. So here we go. I grew up with the belief that life was predictable and that it was safe and that my security was provided for by somebody else, my parents. And then when I was 13, my parents suddenly divorced. And I know that divorce is unfortunately nothing new or unique in today's world, okay? But because of how I internalized that event, I created a belief about myself that caused recurring challenges later in life regarding my career. I don't bring this up as my sob story, as my, hey, please pity me because my parents got divorced, because you're probably thinking, well, my parents are divorced too, so what's the big deal? It is a big deal. It's a big deal for kids, for their family to split apart because now their security is no longer intact in the same way that it was. So I created a belief about myself as a result of this divorce that caused recurring challenges later in life regarding my career, like I said. And that belief was that life is something that happens to you, that it's unpredictable and you don't have control over it and you are just a victim. That's what I believed. And other people, they give you the scripts for your life and you don't get to write your own. You don't get to write your own scripts. So as a 13-year-old with a family that was splitting apart, I felt powerless and I felt voiceless and scared. And I didn't have a say in what happened. And that really angered me and that really annoyed me. I hated that I didn't have a say in it. And as I tried to search for answers of why it happened, I concluded that the only plausible reason is this. It must be because I didn't deserve to have security and predictability in my life. I didn't deserve to write my own stories. That's what I believed. That, to me, was the only plausible reason why that could have happened. So I also learned that I was on my own now, since I no longer had the safety of a united family. And of course, my basic needs were still being taken care of, and I had parents that loved me and supported me. And even though my dad moved out of the house into his own place, we still saw him often. He was in the same neighborhood. And my parents were still really good friends. It was a very... I was lucky in that it was a fairly friendly divorce where my parents were better off afterwards, and it was the right choice for them, even though it caused me to form certain beliefs. It was the right choice for them, and they were still they got along, and they were still my parents, and they still took care of me and loved me. But regardless of that, I still didn't feel secure. And in the years that followed, I gained a spirit of independence, wanting to be on my own and wanting to provide my own security. And I was feeling that it was totally up to me. And you can imagine why I've always wanted to be self-employed, and I've always been very entrepreneurial, because that experience kind of started my thinking of, I have to create my own life. I have to support myself because my parents aren't always going to support me. And that kind of started to give me a reality check. So for that, I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for my parents getting divorced, and that it set me on a track of becoming very entrepreneurial. And so I'm grateful for that. So already feeling voiceless in my own life up to this point, entering into my teen years. To make matters worse, I saw people in my family and I saw people and kids at school using their voice to hurt people, their actual voice. And so I chose to silence mine because I was afraid that if I used it, that I would hurt people too. And as I saw people use their voice out of anger and out of their own self-hate and struggles, it made me very afraid to use my own voice. And so I chose to be fairly silent and quiet, which only attracted more hurt to me through other kids bullying me because I didn't have a strong internal voice or a say over my life because of that self-defeating inner talk and thoughts that I had. And I also didn't have a strong external voice because I really struggled with low self-esteem, and it interfered with my ability to actually speak with people and connect with people. And it really caused me a lot of hurt not being able to express myself. I hated not knowing how to express myself, and I had things to say, but I was afraid to say it. And, I would see other kids getting bullied at school, and I was afraid to step in and defend them, even though I really wanted to. And so I just had a lot of harsh self-criticism for me not speaking up a lot of times. So fairly soon, I found my way around my problem. Since I couldn't write my own stories for my life, I started writing stories for lives of fictional characters that I then made into movies. And you want to know a common theme for all my movies to this day? It's always been about a character finding his voice and deciding to create his life instead of being a victim to it. And I'm only realizing recently that has been a common theme in all the stories that I've written for movies that I've made. Ever since I was 12, I've been making movies. And it's always about some character who is in control of his life and is having a say in it. And it's interesting now that I look back and realize why I was writing those stories, because that's what I wished my life could be like. I wish that I had a say in my life, and I didn't feel I did. But this kind of put a Band-Aid on it. I gained a real passion for filmmaking as a kid, and I'm still passionate about it. And it was my dream to become a film director in Hollywood, and I had really big dreams. And it's just interesting that I gained that passion because of a pain. Because of a pain of not being able to express myself that led to me discovering something that I was passionate about, with making movies. And the movies did become a band-aid to what I was feeling on the inside, but it also provided some healing and some temporary coping. It also gave me a platform by which I could express my voice, since I wasn't comfortable expressing it through my own mouth. And overall, though, I was excited to actually make a career out of it, and I had really big dreams, and I was chasing those dreams, but I was unaware that deep down I still didn't believe that I deserved to achieve those dreams. So I was always the kid. I mean, you can ask my friends, my parents. I had big dreams. You know, they always knew that I would grow up and become a film director in Hollywood and direct the next Star Wars, and that I would make it. Because on the outside, I acted as if I believed in myself, and I acted as if I was enthusiastic about my goal to become a film director, and I was very excited about it, and I was constantly making movies, and so it seemed as if I had it all together. It seemed as if nothing was going to stop me because of my passion. And my parents, supported me in that. I was lucky and blessed to have parents that said, yeah, chase your dreams, do whatever you want with your life. But regardless of the support I had, I still believed deep down that I didn't deserve to achieve those dreams. And that's nobody else's fault. That's not my parents' fault. My parents were supporting me. It's amazing the beliefs that we can create for ourselves, even when other people are actually supporting us. There's just so many reasons why we create certain beliefs about ourselves that hold us back. And we don't always need to understand why we created the belief. We just need to understand and discover that we have that belief, and then we need to get rid of it and replace it with a belief that actually serves our life. So along with making movies, I got involved in acting all throughout high school. And for the first time, I felt as if I had a voice through somebody else's shoes. So through writing and acting, I felt as if I had a voice temporarily. And it gave me momentary relief from my poor self-image, because I was able to all of a sudden have a different view of myself through another character. And again, super interesting looking back now and realizing why I clinged on to those certain hobbies. And so maybe just telling that part of my story might help you think about your own life and various hobbies that you've developed. And maybe you develop those hobbies as certain band-aids to pains that you've had in your life. And that's something to reflect on. That doesn't mean to get rid of that hobby. Keep the hobby the rest of your life. It's great to have these hobbies, but it's interesting discovering the reason why we develop certain hobbies. Like for me with filmmaking, making videos and movies will always be a primary function of my new company, Aerolite. As it continues to grow, I'll be able to make larger movies within the themes that I teach through workshops and events and mentoring in Aerolite, and it's now going to be roped into my current career. So I haven't abandoned filmmaking. I've just transformed the method by which I'm executing on it, now that I understand more about myself and who I am and what I enjoy. So, I'd get on stage and I'd act in various plays throughout high school, and I really enjoyed it. And even though I was really shy 24/7 in my normal life, I wasn't shy on stage. And so it was just, I was having a lot of fun with it. But when I walked off the stage and the play was over, I went back to my normal voiceless self. And acting as well, of course, was a band-aid, but not a cure. So in my senior year of high school, a worldwide event happened that just solidified my belief that we cannot control our own security. And it was the 2008 market crash. And my dad, at that time, lost his secure salary job. And I say that with the tone of voice of putting quotes around it, because being self-employed most of my life, I really don't believe that salary jobs are any more secure than self-employment. It's just because to me it's, you put all your eggs in one basket with one company, and if they fail or if they shut down or if they downsize, now you lose your entire job all at once. When you're self-employed and you have different clients, you might lose one client because they no longer can afford you or something, but you still have 90% of your work, and you can just easily replace that client with somebody new. So I've always clinged on to self-employment for that reason, and it again, this 2008 market crash pushed me even further towards entrepreneurship and self-employment, as I saw my dad instantly lose his secure job. his so-called secure salary job, and it was devastating for him to lose that. It was very difficult. And I was just about to go off to college on my own, being on my own anyways, and so that only solidified my belief that life is unpredictable, that things just happen to you, that the market just crashes and there's nothing you can do about it. You don't have a say over it, that you can't affect your own life, is what I believed. And my reaction at this point was, it's all up to me to provide my own security, and so I better get out there and become the film director that I want to become. And going back to the salary secure job thing, I'm not being cynical about salary jobs saying that everyone should be self-employed. No, not everyone should be self-employed. I'm growing right now. I own a company, but I'm the only employee. Eventually, I intend to hire employees and build more of a team. And so I'm grateful that there are people that are willing to work for somebody else's company. We need people that are willing to line up behind somebody else's vision for a company and support them and help them realize that dream. Not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone's meant to be self-employed. I was, and I am. But not everyone is. So I'm not being critical of salary jobs saying that it's stupid and no one should go work in the corporate world. No, there are plenty of great opportunities in the corporate world, and that might be your path. But it's worth exploring the possibility that maybe your path is self-employment or entrepreneurship, that the corporate world is not the only path, but it's a totally valid path. So after high school, I ventured off into college to officially pursue my dream of becoming a film director and a writer. So I could write whatever stories I wanted, so that I could bring them to life, so that I could have a say in stories. Even if I couldn't live them in my own life, at least I could write them and I could direct them and I can put them on the screen. And I liked the idea of being a filmmaker as well, being on my own, basically being self-employed, not relying on one company to give me my job security. So I studied film in college, and after college I was getting nowhere. I was putting a couple of films that I did into film festivals, and it wasn't working. There was nothing. I even got some awards with some of my movies, but I wasn't getting handed the opportunities to make bigger movies that I thought I would just get handed. Because again, I believed that life happened to you, which means that I believed that negative events just happen to you, and so do positive events. I believed that positive events also just happen to you. So I was waiting for some studio executive to just hand me a directing job, to say, hey, I loved your movie. Here's a job for you. Here's a bunch of money. What movie do you want to direct? And we'll give you a crew and we'll give you money to do it. It doesn't work like that. We create our own life. You create the negative in your life and you create the positive. You create all of your experiences with your life. You don't always create every event that happens within your world, within your sphere and the people you're interacting with, but you create your experiences with all the events in your life. And you can experience life as a joyful thing or as a miserable thing, and that's your choice. At this point, I was experiencing it as a struggle because I was choosing to I was just waiting for somebody to hand me opportunities rather than going and creating those opportunities. I was waiting to just get lucky, because you hear about that. You hear about that a lot in the film industry about, oh, you just got to get your big break. Somebody's just going to hand you your big break if you just stick it out. No, it's not the case. Nobody hands you a big break. You're in the right place at the right time because you created that opportunity, because you talked to people. And the biggest thing holding me back was that I would go to film festivals, but I was very hesitant to talk to people and to actually network. And it takes that kind of effort. You can't just make a good movie and make it. You got to be willing to talk to people and form those relationships. And that's why I have this whole show now, so that I can teach people how to connect and make relationships a priority, because it was never a priority for me, because I was very shy and I had a hard time connecting with people. With that said, you can be outgoing and still struggle to connect with people. It's just the opposite end of the spectrum. Those that are very extroverted tend to force their way into relationships through talking a lot but not really listening very well. Those that are very shy tend to avoid connecting with people entirely, and they as well actually struggle to listen because they're always in their own head too much. That was me. I was constantly worried about what to say next, that I wasn't actually listening when I was talking to people. So just know that outgoing people and those who are shy both equally can struggle to communicate and connect with people and form valuable relationships. This is not just something that those who are shy struggle with. There's just as many outgoing people that struggle to really connect and form valuable relationships with people. So, with that said, I was on the shy end of the spectrum, meaning low self-esteem, which also caused me to be quiet, and that's what caused me to not connect. Now, with that said, there's also people that can be very outgoing, and the reason why they're very extroverted is because they're covering up the poor self-image they have about themselves. And so they're overcompensating for that poor self-image. So it's interesting the different directions that people can go when they don't love themselves enough, when they have that poor self-image. So anyways, I wasn't succeeding as a film director, and I kept asking myself the question, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Pay attention to that language and pay attention to whether you're using that same language in your life. Are you using the word things are happening to me, or are you using the words I'm creating things in my life? And I was wondering why I wasn't succeeding as a film director. And of course, deep down, it was very difficult to make this filmmaking dream a reality because I still believed that I didn't deserve it. I wanted it, and I kind of believed that I could do it, but I didn't fully believe it, and most importantly, I didn't believe I deserved it. But I didn't know about this belief. I wasn't aware of this belief that I had about myself, so I was unsure of why I wasn't finding success. So despite my lack of confidence and lack of communication skills, I did have technical skills as a video editor that I gained ever since I was 12 editing things, and then also throughout college. And those technical skills did land me a salary job after college, and I was married while I was still in college, actually. And so I already knew that I was starting to form a family, and I needed to support my family. So I needed to find a job. I couldn't just keep chasing this film thing without bringing in any money to pay the bills. And so I landed a salary job with one company as a video editor. And for 7 months, I was supporting my family and feeling kind of safe. But underneath it all, I had the belief that having a salary job's not actually super secure, especially since witnessing my dad lose his. And so I was a little uneasy about it. And because I always wanted to be self-employed, I also knew that I was going against my own voice. I was going against what I knew was right for me, and that made me uncomfortable. So I was a little insecure. And then one day, my fears manifested, and the company that I was working for made a large downsize, and I was let go, and I lost my job. And in an instant, I felt like a 13-year-old boy again, powerless and voiceless and scared. I literally, it's like I just I remember sitting with my wife on the couch telling her about this, and I felt as if I was a 13-year-old boy again when my parents told me they were getting divorced. It's like everything just circled right back around to that event. And because I didn't have a say in what happened, I didn't have a say in losing that job. It was the kind of situation where I didn't do anything wrong. I was doing my job perfectly well. But the company just hit an unfortunate time, and they had to shut down large sections of their company, which made my job no longer a top priority. So I really didn't have a say in it, and I really hated that. And I hated being reminded of that. I hated being reminded that I didn't have a say in my life. And to make it worse, to make it way worse, I was 3 months away from my first child being born. You know, I was having a good salary job right out of college, so I was like, okay, let's get pregnant. It feels like a good time to have a kid. And then, of course, I lose that job 3 months before my child was to be born. And the same feelings I had when my parents divorced came back, but a 1,000 times worse because of the pressure that I had now to support my own family. You know, when my parents were divorced, I was still being supported by them financially. You know, they were still feeding me and giving me shelter. But now I was supporting my own family. So the feelings of being powerless, voiceless, and scared was 1,000 times worse this time in this experience during this event. And so I asked myself the question, why is this happening to me? And I also thought, like, the same thing that happened to my dad during the 2008 market crash just happened to me. And I swore I would never let that happen to me because I'm going to be self-employed. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm never going to experience getting fired from a job. And then I did. And I'm sitting there thinking, is there no way out of this pattern? Is there no way out of this pattern? This pattern of career and financial struggle. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, to me, self-employment is actually less risky. So why the heck did I take this salary job even though I knew I would rather be self-employed? Oh yeah, it was because I didn't believe I was capable or deserving of creating my own path. I didn't believe I could succeed as a freelancer or an entrepreneur, and I didn't believe that I deserved to write my own story for my life. And because of that, I had a lot of fears, and so I didn't go after self-employment. I ended up getting that salary job. And of course, once again, I was not aware of this belief yet. I only became aware of this belief recently, a couple years ago. And so the pattern continued. This pattern of career failure continued in my life because I had this belief at the core of it that kept causing me to create these new experiences. So, what do I do? What do I do? I'm 3 months away from my baby being born. I have a family to support. We had already decided that my wife was not going to work, that she was going to stay at home with our kid and be a full-time mother, and that's something that she was wanting to do. And, you know, she's the kind of person that eventually wants a career, but while kids are young and small, we wanted our children to have a full-time parent at home, to not hire somebody out to take care of them. And so I was the only one that was going to bring in the income, and I was sitting there just wondering what I was going to do. I could go get another salary job, but my fear of losing that again was greater than my fear of failing as a freelancer. So I chose to attempt freelancing, and I started my own videography business. And I discovered this freelancing platform online. It's called Upwork, and there are many others similar to that, where you can make a profile and you can find clients. And within a few weeks after aimlessly applying to over, it must have been 100 different freelance gigs, I finally got my first client, and then a couple more. And I was excited because I was actually getting some clients. But that joy soon plummeted after I realized how underpaid I was for my work. I had no idea how to determine my value or set boundaries for myself or set boundaries with my clients. And I didn't even value myself enough to find better clients. And so I was continually working with people that I didn't like working with, that were just looking for cheap work. They were the kind of people that they're going on these websites to try to find a freelancer that's just cheap, but that somehow is still going to deliver quality work. And that's rare. You pay what you get what you pay for. Unfortunately, I had the skills of a high quality video editor, but I was massively undervaluing myself. So I was attracting very annoying clients. And so after 9 months of extremely inconsistent income, of sinking into debt, of working with many annoying clients, being underpaid because I didn't know my value, having constant stress, I literally was having frequent anxiety attacks. I thought I had a heart problem at first. But then when I went and got checked out, I didn't have any heart problem. I literally was just having anxiety attacks that felt like a heart attack. And I realized that freelancing was not working at all. And it was causing a strain on my family. I couldn't be present for them because I was always worrying about work. So I wasn't really there for my kid and my new baby and my wife because I was always thinking about where am I going to find my next client was always on my mind. So once again, the pattern of failure showed up in my life. Why is debt happening to me? Why are these money issues happening to me? Why is career failure happening to me again? So, conveniently, right around that time when I was ready to give up, I was ready to give up on being self-employed. My previous employer, who fired me originally, told me that their business bounced back and they would love to have me come back and work for them full-time again. And with the pressures of a young family to support and provide for, and despite really intense internal conflict over the issue, I accepted another salary job with them. With the same, I didn't just accept another salary job, I accepted another salary job with the same company that let me go because they had to downsize. And somehow I convinced myself that that was a secure choice. But it's because I literally, because of the pain I had experienced freelancing, I was willing to do anything. I was willing to accept this job, and obviously I had some anxiety about it. But I was earning money again. But I was earning a consistent paycheck now. I could finally pay the bills, but I felt just as insecure as when I wasn't earning money. Because guess what? Money does not create security. Relationships create your security in life. And when I finally realized that, I was a lot happier regardless of my inconsistent income. In other words, I'm flashing forward a little bit because obviously I went back to self-employment later and we'll get to that. But I learned a powerful lesson that relationships create your security in life, not money. You can have millionaires and billionaires who have plenty of money, but they're not secure. They're not secure because they don't have those relationships with themselves and with other people. So 1 year after this, doing this new salary job with the same company I was working for before, a year into it, I realized how unfulfilled I was. I wanted to be self-employed. I really did. But I was too scared to do it because of failing the first time. And I really wanted more control over my daily schedule to pursue other passions. And I wanted all the perks that come from being self-employed, with being able to just create my own schedule from the ground up, to be able to take a Wednesday off if I wanted to and work on Saturday instead. I mean, just to have that total control so that I can have more work-life balance. You know, I'm a millennial. And as a millennial, we millennials, we want more work-life balance. We love and want jobs that give us more flexibility. And so we will seek out companies that respect our desire for flexibility and for work-life balance. And if those companies don't give it to us, we will likely seek self-employment like I did. And luckily, I did work for a company that actually allowed me to work at home, and I had a little more flexibility, but not the amount of flexibility that I wanted entirely. But they exist. There are companies that exist that if you don't want to be self-employed, there are companies that do respect kind of that millennial desire for flexibility and autonomy over their career a little bit more and work-life balance. And if if you work for a company and you have a lot of millennial turnover, it's probably because you're not giving them enough flexible options to have that work-life balance. So yeah, I'm sitting there in the back of my head. I have this niggling thought of, didn't you decide it was more secure diversifying your employment? And I felt really uneasy about the fact that I was in a salary job again. I wanted the safety, the perceived safety of a salary job, yet the flexibility and the autonomy of a freelance career. But since my previous experience freelancing was not any more secure at all. And then I thought, well, could I have both? Could I be self-employed and be secure and have consistent income and have predictable income and predictability in my career? So the feeling of an unfulfilling career and my voice not being expressed was way more painful than the fear of failing at freelancing again. So I made a decision to attempt freelancing a second time. And, solopreneurship, whatever you want to call it. And for the first time in my life, I had a say. I chose to leave my salary job. I wasn't let go. I chose to leave. I wasn't kicked out. It didn't happen to me. I used my voice to make my own choice. And that felt very different. This time, though, I decided that if freelancing was going to work, I had to discover why I wasn't successful before, and I needed help to be able to do that because I was at a loss. I was like, I have no idea why it wasn't working. I need help. So I found mentors. There's entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, freelancers, those that are like to be on their own regarding their career. We also are fairly stubborn regarding getting help a lot of times. We often, we're like, I got to just do it on my own. I got to make it on my own because we're afraid that if we get help, if we hire a coach or a mentor and seek help, that if that person then helps us get success, that then somehow we can't claim that success as our own. And that's a total myth. Even if you have a coach and a mentor helping you, you get to still claim that success. That success is yours. You created it. They just helped you discover things that were standing in your way. And they just helped train you on certain skills you needed to achieve your goal. I mean, it's the reason why we go to school. We're hoping that we learn skills and gain education from teachers to help us get to where we want to be, but we still get to claim the success. And so if that's your belief, if you're afraid to hire a coach or a mentor to help you overcome your career issues because you have that pride standing in the way, just know that even if you get help, you still get to claim the success because you're still the one doing all the work. You're the one that ends up. A very good coach and a good mentor helps you discover what you need to do next. They don't just tell you what to do. They help you discover your next step. They help you discover obstacles. They don't just, consulting is where you just tell somebody what to do. Coaching, mentoring, you're helping somebody reach their full potential. And obviously, that's what I enjoy doing today because I found mentors. I finally decided to hire. Not just, I found certain people that are helping me for free, but I also was willing to pay with money I didn't have for mentors and coaches to train me on how to overcome my communication skills issues so that I can finally connect with people, and also just how to gain traction in my career. People that knew the steps on how to find career success. And I got that help, and I found teachers, and I went to training programs, and I took online courses, and I got educated on, and I read books, and I did everything I needed to do to get help on how to find success in a career, and especially being self-employed, since that was the route I was taking. Coaches that I was working with helped me discover that I had this limiting belief that I carried with me my whole life that I didn't deserve success. That I wasn't capable and deserving of writing my own story for my life. I believed that I didn't deserve predictability, but it took an outsider's perspective to help me discover that I believed that about myself, because most of our beliefs are so deep in there we don't even recognize we have them. But they're creating all of our life experiences. Because of that belief, I kept struggling in my career. I kept failing at my career attempts. And having an outside perspective helped me discover that I had that belief. And then because I discovered it, I was able to replace it with a new one and a belief that actually serves me better. And let me add some specificity to the belief that I discovered that was holding me back for a long time. It wasn't that I believed that I didn't deserve success ever or at all. It was that I didn't believe I deserved success yet, because I was living a story that you're supposed to struggle for 20 to 30 years, working really hard, making just enough money to get by and pay the bills, and then eventually in your 50s, then you finally deserve to have success in your career and have financial stability and have extra income beyond what you need to just pay your bills. And then you can have a nice retirement because you spend 20 to 30 years struggling to finally deserve that. Because that's the story that my family has been playing out for generations. But then I realized that if I have value to offer now that is equivalent to the income that I want, that I have knowledge and skills that people are willing to pay that amount for, there's no reason why I have to struggle for the next 20 to 30 years. That I can choose to deserve that type of success in my career now. Because then once I discovered this belief, it all made sense. It all made sense why I kept failing. Because I kept sabotaging myself. It was nobody else's fault. I stood in my own way. And that belief is what caused this pattern of career failure to keep showing up and me not achieving my goals. So I made a choice that I deserved success, that I deserved to create my own stories, that I was no longer expecting for someone else to just hand me success, because I had developed skills over time that allowed me to have value to offer people. So as long as you have knowledge and you have skills that you can exchange for money, then you deserve to receive that money. And I had plenty of skills. I had plenty of skills to be able to succeed as a freelancer in exchange for the money that I needed and wanted for my family. But I didn't believe I deserved that success. And I didn't know how to market those skills because I didn't value myself. And because I didn't value myself, I didn't know how to communicate the value of those skills to other people. In other words, sell myself. So I finally found my voice and I safely transitioned into a freelance career. And I discovered my value and I raised my rates accordingly. And I actually found better and more clients with higher rates because people know that they get what they pay for. They know if they pay a higher rate, they're likely going to get higher quality. Yeah, there are people out there that are scammers that are charging enormous rates for things, but they don't deliver. But those people, their survival in their career is very short-lived. It's a very short life. Okay, you don't survive very long charging people a certain rate for something and then not delivering that value, because then they will trash your reputation. And that client will not recommend you, and you will struggle to find people. You can only repeat scamming so many times before you get shut down by the fact that everyone is trashing your reputation. It doesn't work. So make sure that you have value to offer people. Make sure you deliver. But I had that value to offer, but I didn't believe I deserved it, and so I didn't charge people accordingly. And so what I learned is through training and going to different trainings and taking courses and hiring mentors and coaches, and as I learned how to manage my focus and use my time more effectively, was another skill that I gained that I was not using very well when I was trying to attempt self-employment the first time, and that's why I was failing. I wasn't using my time very effectively. I didn't know how to control my focus. My focus was so concerned on all of my worries and my fears. It wasn't focused on my goals. I wasn't pointing my focus on my goals and the things I was trying to create. I was just constantly worrying about my fears. So I learned how to control my focus. And I learned how to communicate with people. I learned how to communicate better with myself. I learned how to clear out the noise in my head of all that negative self-talk that was massively interfering with my ability to achieve my career goals. And I just chose to stop being a victim to my own lack of self-worth. I chose to stop being a victim to money and time and all of it. And within a couple of months, I was thriving as a freelance filmmaker, and I was getting plenty of referrals, and I was earning way more money than I did on my previous salary. And I was only working with my ideal clients and enjoying the freedom of creating my own job and my own schedule. And I had a healthy balance of work and home life. And my life, just like it was before my parents' divorce, it became predictable again. But this time, I was creating it to be that way. I was creating predictability in my own life. I was earning enough income that was stable and predictable while also having just overall sanity. I used to, when I'd be going to sleep during that first attempt at freelancing, and even during the salary job because I was still really insecure, my heart would just randomly start racing throughout the night. And I'd randomly wake up with my heart going super fast. That's why originally I thought I had a heart problem. I didn't. I just had anxiety. I had anxiety because I wasn't doing what I was meant to do in my career. I had anxiety because I didn't feel I had a voice and a say over my life. And that's a scary feeling, to not feel that you have a say, because you feel like a victim in everything. And that causes anxiety, to feel like a victim. So I was finally able to support my family financially, but also emotionally. And that was really important. And I've been writing my own scripts for my life ever since. And I've been making them a reality. And I am still passionate about filmmaking. And I'm incorporating a lot of video into my new company, Aerolite, because I transitioned from, so I had a freelance videography business where I was doing video for other people's companies. And I was successful at that for a while. But after only about a year of doing that, after only about a year of just successfully being a freelance videographer, I realized I'm meant for more now. I'm now successfully freelancing, and I'm being self-employed, and I have stable, consistent income, and I'm enjoying it, but I'm realizing that there are others that are struggling like I did. There are others that are struggling to be self-employed and to make it work. There are others that are on the verge of giving up in their career, or giving up attempting freelancing or solopreneurship or being self-employed because it's not working. And I wanted to help them, and my heart went out to them. So I decided to exit my videography business and create a new company called Aerolite that's completely devoted to helping people like me, to helping people like I was, overcome career struggle and finally gain a footing in their career, and be able to customize their career from the ground up and have a say in what they do in their career and how they do it and when they do it. And at the core of it, I am passionate now about teaching people about how to communicate and connect their way to career success, because the key for me in finally finding success in my career was that I started connecting with people. I started forming valuable relationships. I finally knew how to network. I finally knew how to build those relationships so that I was getting referrals continuously, that I didn't have to no longer spend time looking for work because one client led to the next, because I knew how to communicate with people finally. I knew how to form those relationships. And so now teaching communication at a very deep internal level and coming out to the external level, that's my passion now, to really teach that, to teach you how to find your voice in your career by teaching you how to find your inner voice and then also your outer voice. And again, that applies to whether you're shy or outgoing. That applies to whether you're shy or outgoing. If you are struggling in your career, if you're struggling financially, all of that, then you're struggling to find your voice, period. That you're struggling to communicate your own value to other people because you're struggling to understand your own value. So that's what leads me to where I am now. That now I teach workshops online. I love teaching them online because I'm a millennial and I know a lot of other millennials, they like the convenience of connecting into a workshop through any device, through their phone, through their computer. They don't have to drive somewhere. There are benefits to in-person workshops. Eventually, I'll be doing live events in person, but I like utilizing the technology that we have today to teach things online. And so I have this show, this podcast that is a platform by which I can teach these things and interview other people so I can learn from them. And I have videos that I release every week, and I teach online workshops. I do one-on-one mentoring for those that need help in their career. And I'm loving it. I'm loving where I'm at now. And am I bitter towards those negative experiences of my parents divorcing and losing my job? No. I'm grateful that I had those experiences because they led me to where I am today. And if I never had those experiences are what led me to having the independence in my career that I now have. And so it's my passion to now share what I've learned through years of struggle in my career and years of struggle financially, so that you don't have to take as long to learn it, so that you can learn from my mistakes, so it can shortcut your progress, so it can accelerate your progress. So you don't have to spend years. You can, in a matter of months, you can completely flip your career. You can get out of the pit that you might be in, and you can finally gain traction in your career. You can finally gain success in your self-employment if that's the route that you're taking. And I want to help you get there faster than I did. So you don't have to have as many setbacks. You don't have to, because at the end of the day, the one thing that held me back the longest, if I would have just from the get-go found a mentor to help me gain traction in my career the second I graduated college, I would have avoided all of that struggle, and I would have gotten success so much faster. But for some reason, I felt that I needed to do it on my own, and I felt that I needed to learn the lessons that I did, and I'm glad I did. And but it was a struggle. It was very hard, and it was hard on my family, and I don't want you to have to go through the same thing. And so I encourage you to find a mentor and a coach to help you overcome your career struggle, to help you finally have total satisfaction in your career and where you're heading. And know that even if you get help, you get to claim that success for yourself. That you still get to be self-made, even with hiring coaches and mentors. Any Olympic athlete, just look at all the successful people around the world. Olympic athletes, successful people in business, they have all had coaches and mentors along their journey to help them. You don't get to that level of success without having a coach and a mentor. You don't. You need somebody who's been there, who's done that, who can help navigate through your own crap in your head that's holding you back, all these limiting beliefs that you have, and help you realize your own true potential. And then also these people help train you on skills you legitimately need to actually achieve these goals. And then also they're also there to give you knowledge that you need to be able to achieve your goals. So just the one thing I want you to take away from this conversation today, from my story, is that you get to write your own stories for your life, and you get to make them true. And you get to have a say in your own life. You get to create it. You get to write the scripts for your life. No one else, not your parents, not your grandparents, not your uncle, not your cousins, not your best friend, no one gets to give you scripts for your life. You get to decide how you want to live your life and what that life looks like. You get to decide what you want to do in your career. Somebody who has found their voice in their career is somebody who knows where they're going, and they believe they're going to get there, and they also believe that they deserve to get there. When you're sure in your direction, when you know where you're heading, you automatically express a certain air of confidence that other people see. And then all of a sudden, other people, they want to be your friend. They want to collaborate with you. They want to hire you. They want to work with you because they see that you are somebody who knows where you're going and you know you're going to get there. That's the type of confidence that allows you to create the kind of relationships that will connect you to your goals. So I encourage you to explore all the different programs that are out there of people helping people find their voice in their career. And you can also check out my programs. I have online workshops that hit different aspects of finding your voice in your career, especially related to self-employment, since that has been my career path for the most part. But even if you're not self-employed, you'll still get a lot out of it. I have a free class I do almost every Wednesday called the Solopreneur Journey. And it's all about learning the foundations for becoming a successful solopreneur. And I also do one-on-one mentoring. For those that are sick and tired of being sick and tired, for those that have a lot of pain regarding where you're at right now, and you want to overcome your problem fast, you want to get to where you want to be in your career fast, and you're sick and tired of not achieving your goals, and you have that high level of urgency, one-on-one coaching and mentoring is for you. And I encourage you to go to my website at airlight.tv/mentoring, and you'll be able to just follow the links there, click whatever box kind of applies to you the most, and just follow those links until you get to the page that allows you to schedule a strategy session with me. I want to offer anyone listening and watching a free 30-minute strategy session where we get to dive into what may be standing in your way to you achieving your career goals. And then we get to strategize on a great next step for you. And also it gives you an opportunity to find out if any of my mentoring programs are a good fit for you. And it gives me a chance to see if you're a good fit for my programs. And so go ahead and explore that. See what I have to offer on my website. I release videos every week. I have this show, and I encourage you to go and subscribe, if you haven't already, to the YouTube channel Airlight TV, so you can follow this show, and also on iTunes and Stitcher. It's on all the different iTunes app, all the different podcast apps. Subscribe to the channel, and I hope that you got a lot of value out of my story today. I hope that as I told my story to you, that you not only know me a little better, so that I'm not just this random voice that's interviewing people and you're not sure who I am, but that also you learned some lessons today as I shared with you key lessons that I've learned in the last few years as I've gone through ups and downs in my career and what led to me finding my voice in my career. And I'm excited to help you. Find me on LinkedIn, connect with me. I want to help you. I want to have a conversation with you so that we can learn from each other. Thank you for listening to my story today. I'll see you next week on Connect Up. Have a great day.